We're going to talk about lat engagement on the bench, how to cue it. But we're going to hit several topics as we go into that at first may seem unrelated, but they're things that often go wrong because if you're not engaging the lats, oftentimes you're moving really fast through that bottom portion of the motion. You're basically slingshotting the bench. And we want to stop that. And we actually want to remove any spring, if you will, between the bar and your shoulder. And that's often, people have that kind of built in if they're doing that slingshot or throw bench press. So the first thing that we want to do is look at the bar in our wrist, or in our hand. And even if you've got a wrist wrap on supporting your wrist, you do not want the bar back here. This changes a lot of things with the leverages and puts a spring in here in the mix. It also puts a lot of shear stress on this elbow. Oftentimes people will be complaining of elbow pain and potentially over tucking, and we want to fix all of those things. We want the bar directly above the wrist directly above our elbow, and that's how we want to maximize power transfer. We want to go from here to here and have that drive directly into the bar. So that may be an issue or difficult for some people. So there's a couple ways around that. So one is to go with what I call a kettlebell style, where you've got the wrist locked in. Notice if I put a bar in here, it's going to be directly above my wrist. This is also going to be how you punch, right? You're not going to punch somebody like this. If you try to do that, you're going to snap your wrist. You're not going to be able to hit them very hard. They're going to fucking laugh at you, honestly. You don't want that. We want to transfer power. So that's a really good analogy of why that doesn't work. You're not actually effectively transferring all the power in there. So instead of here, at first it may feel like the bar is going to dump off the front of your wrist. You just got to get used to that. Another way is to take your thumb and push it out of the way so that the bar is righting, because of we're in this position here. The bar is righting across the wrist at a little bit diagonal, but the primary, it's actually centered directly through the wrist right here. But if I've got it here, it doesn't work. Now I'm behind the wrist. So I forcibly, as I'm setting up on the bar, push it over here. Another way is to actually put the thumb on the bar. If you look at my friend Adrian Larson, who had the all-time raw bench record at 220, he benches this style. You'll see me as well, because I have some limitations with my elbow that cause more strain on the wrist. So this allows me to get in that position and have good power to that bar. I've done a lot of thumbless gripping in my training, but this actually allows a little bit more power transfer to the bar. So it's going to look like that. Notice it's not like this. So if you continue to roll back, that thumb is going to be behind the bar, above. Notice it's right there, right on that wrist. Okay. 2, if you've got hip mobility issues, you're going to want to open those up before you bench press. Why the hell am I talking about mobility before you bench in the hip? Well, we actually want to be able to open these hips up and fire enough that we can actually fire and engage these glutes hard. I see a lot of people that with that slingshot bench are not using leg drive effectively. Because again, that lat integration means if we're using the lats, we're actually pulling more of our spinal stabilization down through the hips. We're actually able to engage the legs, get power all the way through the body. So if you're not getting this, why do you're not really probably using leg drive, because you're not actually able to use it effectively. So we want to be able to drive back hard through the hips into the bar this way, not up. So the reason I said hip mobility, like I said, if you're lacking hip mobility, if you don't, you'll be able to get in position here, have those glutes locked in hard. But if you're lacking here, what'll happen, so as soon as I drive back, if I'm locked in, everything goes back. This is solid and can't come up. But if I cave, butt comes up. So we really want to lock wide, hard. This actually should be one of the hardest things that you have from a hip mobility standpoint. Notice a 90, nice and square here. I'll discuss feet under in another video. We're just going to talk about this one here. So we want to open up, engage those glutes hard. If you've never done this before, your first few workouts, you're probably going to cramp. And a lot of times on my high rep stuff, I don't lock it in, which is my butt comes off the bench. Doesn't in meets because I'm locked in. So, next piece is we're taking the bar down, or before we take it down, we want to do a couple things. And these are points that you hear me talk about all the time. I want you to forcibly, and it takes much more practice and purposeful thought than on the squat and deadlift, because we're not actually loading a weight above our core. But if we engage the core hard, boom, one, you're actually going to find that you're able to bench more immediately. So you want to inflate those obliques. Push that belly out hard. Push up. So right below the sternum, I really want you to push up air right here, right below this rib cage here. This is actually going to release the erectors, which will allow you to arch a little bit harder or higher if those aren't tight. So, and imagine pushing it up to the bar, because this is really pretty close to where you want the bar touching. So push it up to the bar as much as possible. As you're coming out, boom, you're going to bend that bar hard, which again, this is external rotation, so it's not really engaging the lats. But follow me, we're going to get there. So I want you to bend that bar up hard, boom. And you're actually going to feel that kind of in the upper back there. Boom. Big intra-abdominal pressurization. Glutes locked hard. Bar above the wrist, locked in, okay? Now you're going to maintain control on the way down. So instead of this just being this really boom, boom, bench, we're actually going to take it to your chest and pull it in. And this is where you see a lot of people go wrong. So you see a lot of big lifters actually release and let the bar go into their chest. But as they go press, they're not staying connected to the bar. I want you to stay connected to that bar. So I've got this really thin piece of foam. So as you're learning this technique, you can use this, something like this, or you can use a rolled up shirt, sweater, something like that, okay? And we're actually going to put this on your chest, and I want you to pull the bar into it. Boom. So I'm pulling that in. Boom. Just enough to compress it. And I'm holding it for a little second, then pressing it off. So to do that, you're going to have to engage those lats at the bottom of the lift. And this is going to teach you to do that. Boom. And then press all the way through after that. So, but you need to combine that with really good bending that bar, that external rotation of the shoulder. So maybe not even think about the bar, because I don't want you to go into a spring effect here again. As you come out, huge intra-abdominal pressurization. Whoop. Good solid arch. Legs locked wide and hard with the glutes engaged, so that as you go to press, now you've got a nice, solid, rigid system to drive all the way through. And we've got, boom, lats engaged, good, solid strength. And now you're going to have the time when you come to a meet, and you've got to pause, that power to be able to pause, and then press through from there. So I use this real thin foam pad here for a reason, or suggested the rolled up shirt, because I want you to pull a little bit of the weight in, but you're still going to actually maintain control. You're going to be holding the weight, but forcefully pulling in. And you're going to do the same thing when you transfer away from this. So imagine about a quarter of the weight. So if you're a 400 or 500 pound bencher, you're going to pull like 100 pounds into your chest. And you're going to hold it, and then you're going to press. Okay? So this kind of gives you that feel, because that's about how much you need to do to compress this. So we don't want to overdo it. You're not going to drop it and let it just sink into the chest fully relaxed. So that's the point of what we're trying to do here, is activate some engagement and then be able to press off of that.